The pit stop is vital to every race team's success. Pull off the track, let your team go to work.
Clear.
Change all 4 tires, fill the fuel cell, and make needed adjustments, all in 8 seconds or less.
Hey, welcome back. It's the Pits Are Open. Your host, Will Marotti. Alex Smith, our engineer. And, of course, we're presented by Speed Sport, your one-stop shop for all racing news. Also, very happy to have Redline Ace, another place for you to get any graphic work that you need for your car, driver, uniform, wraps, transports, hero cards, you name it. Ben Porter does it all at Redline Ace. Well, we had a great weekend with the Road America. I mean, Road America is such an incredibly beautiful track, and it's long. It's over 4 miles long. And, so it looked like several people were going to win. And then finally it came down toward the end. It looked like Scott Dixon might win, but all reports were that Scott didn't have enough fuel. And so Scott ended up having a pit with about 2 laps left, and one of our 2 winners, well, I had 2 winners in the IndyCar season this year, Kyle Kirkwood and Alex Palou, and Alex pulled it off. So it was just it was a fun race. It was fun to watch. Had some excitement. Santino Ferrucci, 3rd place, another podium for Santino. I think Santino is really coming into his own right now. Foyt's doing a great job. Now, David Malukas, there's a story. Malukas spun out, I think, on the first lap and was far behind and finished in top 10, which is wonderful. So that was great. It was really a good showing, really good race. And again, we're very happy for Santino. We have a personal soft spot for Santino here at the Pits Are Open. And whatever platform you're watching on, thank you so much. Please like, comment, share. And again, we're trying to build the new YouTube channel that we opened. And the new YouTube channel is the Pits Are Open podcast. The old YouTube channel, the Pits Are Open. So we were asking, please migrate over to the new YouTube channel. At some point, we're going to close out the old one. But right now, we're running simultaneously on both of those. Also, Marotti Autosport Facebook is a lot of folks are watching on that. Actually, probably our biggest viewership, Mr. Alex, is on Marotti Autosport Facebook. So if you're watching there today, again, do us a big favor. Maybe after the show, go over to YouTube, find the Pits Are Open podcast. Here's the difference. The Pits Are Open podcast has our new green logo, our green light, the Pits Are Open logo. The old one has the more traditional, this kind of red and black look. That's the old one. So if you wouldn't mind going over to the new Pits Are Open podcast YouTube channel and subscribing there. It doesn't cost you anything. It's a big help to us. So we're grateful for that. And so, I am very excited about the guest that we're going to have today. Last time we tried to have a guest, and there's a lot of tornado activity in Indiana. It's one thing I love Indiana, back home again in Indiana, but I hate tornadoes, and we don't have tornadoes here. Rarely do we have Storrs, Connecticut. Mark this down. Storrs, Connecticut is the safest weather spot in the United States of America, and so our weather is fairly balanced here. I mean, we get cold and we get ice storms and snow, but no dramatic shifts in either direction. But in Indiana, there's been a lot of tornadoes lately. I had lived through a tornado warning a few months ago. I was out there, and scared the pants off me practically. I mean, I've never lived through that before. And it's when you hear alarms going off and head to your basement. It's like, gosh, it was pretty emotionally draining. And so last week there was a lot of tornado activity. So JP couldn't make it out to where he was going to broadcast the show, which is at the remote headquarters for the Pits Are Open, Vintage Indy, right in Indianapolis, right? Just not even a mile and a half from the track. And that's Mike Lashmit's location. And so we're able to reschedule him, and we're going to bring him in just a minute. And then after the 4:30 break, we've got a first-time guest. I'm very excited. Teresa Bennick is a motorsports marketing person, sponsorship person. I've been following her on LinkedIn for quite a while, and we finally connected by phone a couple weeks ago. She's got some real insight and knowledge about sponsorship today, and I wanted to share. So she's going to be coming on the program. It's going to be a good show for you. So without further ado, let's go to the 12-time IndyCar Indy 500 starter, and not just IndyCar. He drove everything. And this is back in the day when they did drive everything. You know, now it's a big deal because somebody wants to do Indy and Charlotte in the same day. These guys used to drive everything. We're so excited to have Johnny Parsons on the show. Johnny, welcome.
Well,
there he is. Hey, good to see you.
okay, good to be here. Appreciate
So it's not that much anymore, but it seems like back in your day, drivers drove everything. I mean, it's like it didn't matter if it was a sprint car or a stock car or an Indy car. You just got in them and went. Not so much like that today, but was it an interesting transition to go from car to car when you were doing that?
Everything was interesting. I was so fortunate just to get the opportunity to drive the many different things I did. I had no idea I was going to be able. No dream about driving for Paul Newman at Riverside International Raceway, because I came up as a lot of guys did, you know, in my generation and the generation before me. Dwayne Carter, my stepfather, and my dad. You know, I was kind of focused on racing dirt tracks because we got a quarter midget when we were kids.
Sure.
And we started with that, but we were exposed to a lot of types of racing. And I was eager to get in and try anything.
Mm-hmm. You know, you mentioned quarter midget. That was the first thing. We've got a quarter midget track in my hometown, Silver City Quarter Midgets, and it's the place where Joey Logano cut his teeth as a race car driver. And my dad would bring me and my brother there, and that's where I fell in love with racing, is quarter midget racing. And even today, and they're still running. The track's still there. Joey's gone in, and they've started a foundation. They've restored the track. It's beautiful. And Joey never forgot his roots and took care of the folks. But you were kind of born into racing history with your family. Your dad won the 1950 Indy 500. Was that much of a thing in the Parsons family? Like, was it unusual? Was it expected that you would race cars? How did that all go?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, my parents really were apprehensive about us racing until they ended up buying a quarter midget for us. Dwayne Carter, my stepfather, who partially raised me, called my dad and said, "Hey, he's going to get Pancho and Dana a quarter midget, and if he didn't want me to be left out, he's got to cough up with a quarter midget." And he probably promoted it for pennies on a dollar or anything. But best thing my dad could have done for me at 12 years old, because we had a blast. Dwayne had a trainer before we got in our competitive quarter midgets, and we'd go out behind our house in the athletic field near the high school that was in our neighborhood. And we had a lot of fun. And, you know, that's where we got the taste of racing that turned into an addiction,
well,
you might
everybody
say.
knows that. Everybody who's hooked on it knows that. Now, how did your first run at the Indy 500, how did that happen? I mean, was that the goal once you started racing? Was Indy the goal? And who did you drive for the first time? And how did that all come about?
Wow, what a story! From how much time do you have in here? No,
I know we're covering a lot of ground, but we may go back.
That's okay, yeah. Oh gosh, the passion was instilled in me at that young of an age, and I respected guys. For example, Roger Ward Jr. Figured he might want to race too. So we're teenagers, and I grew up around Gary Bettenhausen and Merle. We'd see him as kids at the races when our fathers would race. But Roger Ward Jr. never really had a desire. Now, mind you, Will, as you know, back in the mid-late 50s, our parents lost a lot of friends. And I was at some of these venues and saw some guys, lose their lives in accidents. So it was instilled in me at a young age, the safety first in racing. And man, that was back before they had roll bars, before roll cages. And yeah, so safety was instilled in us, and we saw what would happen if you tried to cut corners in that area. So had a lot of respect for it and the drivers and the people of that era. But fortunately, because of the more modern technology and safety equipment, and the cars are built so much better, it was just good timing for me, because I could give you an example. You may want to ask about some of the technology then to compare to now.
Well, I
Would that
mean,
be a fair-
is it? Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. But I mean, it almost seems like it was kind of Stone Age back then. I mean, I go to the museum and I look at cars. I go, "There's no way I would drive that car 140 miles an hour." I mean, you seem so exposed. You were so open to everything back then. The Roadsters, I mean, it seems like you had no protection. Drive shafts run alongside you, and the other side there's radiator hose pipes next to you. I mean, it seemed like it was dangerous just getting in the car.
Was very dangerous before I started driving them, and it got even safer further on in my career. But boy, I can remember those tube frame cars and years ago, and the wire wheels that they had, and I learned a lot about the development through World War I, and the development of turbocharged engines for the aircraft industry for our war effort. Because as you recall, in the infield at the Speedway, there was some Air Force planes kept in there testing.
Sure.
So a lot of technology, and I taught for 5 years at Ivy Tech Community College here in Indy, and it was called Intro to Motorsports. And our first week, we did a lot of garage tours and toured the Speedway Museum. But what I focused on was the amount of technology and how they developed through the war effort, because that really accelerated a lot of things in the racing industry, and some great names in the past like Miller, Offenhauser, on and on. I got into the history of it, partially because when I was a rookie on the sprint car circuit, people would have me come into like Dayton, Ohio a few days earlier before a race to help create a little interest. And I thought, well, I better figure out what I'm going to be talking about. So I got into it from talking to my dad and Dwayne, and I was so fortunate to talk to some greats like Louis Meyer. And Frankie Delroy Rose was a riding mechanic. I talked to a few. I was really blessed being raised in that environment. So it definitely paid off. And the technology that I experienced that actually saved my life was the carbon fiber tub, the chassis, because they were so much stronger than the aluminum chassis, the monocoque chassis that I started in. And that came along and saved me just in time, because I had a bad crash in '87 at Indy. Fortunately, it was carbon fiber tub. It was a Lola chassis. And had it been the aluminum type chassis, I wouldn't have made it. Like, I lost some friends, Art Pollard and Jimmy Malloy and some guys, because, you know, those aluminum tubs would just fold up like a beer can when you're like 200 miles an hour. So I've been very fortunate. There are many times that I praise the Lord for being there with his guardian angels or whatever, because and then I had some good prayer warriors, my wife, and people that carried me along and brought me along, and I was just blessed. I'm sometimes amazed that I'm being able to talk to you here today, Will.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, you are a blessing to us for sure. When I fell in love with IndyCar in the late '60s, early '70s, that's when I first was introduced, and so. I remember you mentioned Art Pollard, Jim Malloy, 72, 73, each of them passed. And it seemed like, and before that, it seemed like almost once a year a driver was, succumbing to injuries. And then once the cars, probably mid-90s, I think we really got to a point of safety where, it was starting to become rare that a driver would be, injured, yes, but not killed. But growing up as you were in your days, you saw a lot of fatalities, huh?
Yeah, I did, and that instilled in me a great respect for the sport, the cars, the equipment, And even in quarter midgets, and I had my sons race quarter midgets too, and you train them at a very early age. You know where the fire extinguishers are. If you think there's a fire or a problem with your car, you drive your quarter midget or go-kart, if it may be, whatever, to that area. So there are things that should be instilled in a young mind to help them be safety focused, and it really helps a lot. Yeah.
So when was, and let's go back because we're jumping around a little bit. My fault. So you're racing quarter midgets. How did you go from quarter midgets to sprint cars? And was it a big transition to go from quarter midgets to sprint cars?
Yeah, it was a big. I got to drive some go-karts, which was more of a smoother transition. So the go-karts, and then they had something like a half midget, and then I got in a 3/4 midget. So it was a proper progression. And I wanted to start racing back here right out of high school. After I got out of quarter midgets, I got into go-karts. And I thought, I'm ready to get in a midget. And here I am, 18, out of high school, and they didn't allow you to drive a midget in Indiana or a lot of states until you were 21.
Wow.
But I had heard that you could drive a midget. So I knew I was going to go to California and start racing anyway. So that's where I was born anyway, years prior. So I took off after my senior year and stayed with my dad for a while. My grandmother still lived out there. So I had some help doing that, and it just takes a while. I mean, I was hanging around the tracks and trying to get a ride in anything. And it was kind of an accident the first time I got in a midget. I went to Santa Maria with 3 or 4 guys, and there was a URA combined race, the BCRA, Bay Cities Racing Association. Anyway, they had about 35 midgets there. I showed up with my helmet bag, which I took to me, even before I had a ride. And I'm hanging out the pit gate, and by golly, if a car didn't show up without a driver, and it was an old Ford 60, hey, I'm ready to get in anything. And I got in that car with little practice and a positive experience. Almost made the trophy dash, but they didn't let rookies drive the trophy dash or the fast heat. But I got in the semi-main. They wouldn't let me ride in the main, but I ended up running second, and I knew, man, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, second's pretty good early out. That's nice. Do you what was your first year at the Indianapolis 500, and was it as awe-inspiring for you as it seems like it is for everybody the first time they're going to run there?
Absolutely, because I grew up in the neighborhood, and I was distracted from my schoolwork because you could hear the cars practicing in May from the school, which was only 1.5 miles from the track at the most. And I could always tell when the Novi was on the track. And, instead of doing my work, I was probably drawing pictures of that Novi in the classroom. But finally got out of school. It was a struggle, but we got out of high school, and then I knew I was headed to California.
Yeah. So first 500. What kind of car did you race? Who was the owner? Who's your head mechanic? First one.
Tassie Vadas was the owner, and Bill Finley. And Bill Finley had a history of helping starting younger drivers. Like he had Wally Dallenbach and Bentley Warren, and he had some other guys coming up. But he took a chance on me, and he had gone out to a few midget races or a sprint race, and a crew member was out. And so, and mind you, that's in an era when the car owners and teams would actually send somebody out as a scout, so to speak. And I don't think that happens nowadays, but maybe some drivers or their managers will come to a team or a car owner and say, hey, we got some funding for you, so put us in the car. But yeah, it was a different era, but I was ready to drive anything. And Bill Finley had patience with me, and it paid off. We had a good time together. And 1973 was my first time on the track. But we lost all our engines and didn't even get a chance to take an attempt. But we were back the next year with the same car, and we qualified at the last minute on the last day of qualifying. And boy, I got a picture of me unzipping my uniform going, whoa, finally, man. You hear people talk about all this weight that's been on you, and you just felt
Yeah.
so relieved that I finally made it to the big time, And
Wow.
it was very elating. And I hardly slept. I don't think I slept at all the night before the race because I was jacked up.
Yeah, I bet. Was qualifying for you in the races that you ran the Indy? Was it qualifying as a emotionally draining experience, as I hear some of the drivers talk about? Because the cars are obviously set up differently for qualifying than race, and you're really hanging it out there for qualifying, right?
Oh yeah, and it's especially exhilarating for a rookie because you're in an area you haven't been in before, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty awesome. But I had a lot of help, and USAC and the Speedway does a good job of getting the driver used to working up to speed because they had that rookie test, as you call it, as you recall. They had 4 phases, and then you got to be scrutinized. Your final phase, they have veteran drivers on all the corners, and they're watching you, and then they come back in and they meet with you and the chief steward, and they go over and they decide whether to pass you or not. So it was a pretty big deal, and yeah, a big plateau for me at that point. And then come race day, man, I was ready to go. We started in the back of the field, of course. We qualified the last day, second weekend. And man, you hear all these stories about what goes on at the start. You're in the back row, and you're always very aware of what might be happening in front of you. So you might have to
Right.
but you also have to be aggressive and, stay with the pack. And I'll never forget back then, if you remember, Will, in the 70s, maybe the 80s too, on the first lap of the race in turn 2 and turn 3, they'd have these aerial bombs go off.
Yeah, the bombs
Boom,
going
boom,
off.
boom,
Right?
boom, 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 boom.
That was cool.
And I didn't have my visor taped off. I had a full, so I could see
Yeah.
more than I needed to. And so I'm going through turn 2, and I see all these flashes because I'm aware of what might happen ahead, and all these flashes. But I'm glad I was strapped in the cockpit because I had jumped right out and scared the crap.
I love when the bombs went off. That was so cool. I love it. Well, you mentioned, 72, really 71, 72, 73. That's when the whole, really, the revolution with the wings came into play. And you had front wings and back wings, and, they've changed them over the years, size and stuff. But that's when aerodynamics, I guess, really was coming into its own. And when you were starting your Indy career, right?
Yeah, a few years before that, they would dabble with these wings they call engine covers. Remember '69 when Mario had the wing on his engine?
Right.
They called it an engine cover. Yep. And so the officials were really busy on determining what is a wing, what's a body, and what, So that was a progression through there, and all kinds of technologies come out of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and still going on today.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, this is coming up on 2026, the 100th anniversary of Speedway. Of course, the track was there before the town was established. The Allison Machine Shop was there before the track was established. But you think of all the innovations and technologies and testing that came out of that. I mean, that's where it all started, right? I mean, that's the hub of motorsports is Indianapolis.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of things came out of like World War II, like I was talking about. With 1924 was the first year they had disc brakes, spot brakes they called it back then, and all kinds of stuff. Hydraulic brakes, all that stuff. I mean, it was an era for the engineers, the big pioneers in that era. And I read a lot of books about it.
You mentioned turbochargers. I mean, I know during the war they produced thousands of aircraft engines at that Allison shop. And so you think that was crossover technology to the Indy cars with the turbochargers?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It made a big difference. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Let me give you an example, Will, while we're on the turbocharger thing, because the technology came along and the turbochargers back then, and they used to come on strong and the smaller units would be easier, which we use for the road courses and the mile tracks. But the big super speedways, it used these, and they'd have a bit of a lag. So you get on the throttle, and nothing happened for like a half a second. It seemed like eternity. And then, man, you all kinds of horsepower. So you had to have that. It was like tickling a light switch before they figured that out. And it was kind of tense. But you could go from like
you really felt it kicking in.
You could go from like 600
when the turbo kicked in. You knew it. Yeah.
You could feel the difference from 600 horsepower to 1,000 horsepower. And Elder Rasmussen said he turned his up. He had a Ford. He turned it up like 1,200 horsepower. But you didn't run that much pressure for long because it'd break the pistons.
Yeah. Wow. How about what was the hardest thing at Indy? Was it traffic? Was it pass? And did you have the same problems that they have now, Johnny? With like if you're following a car, it disrupts the air in front of you. It might lighten the front end a little bit. Is that same kinds of things then as even today?
Absolutely, yeah. I remember coming in, even in the 70s, coming in and talking to Mike Devin, my chief mechanic, carb day. He wanted to try and run a low wing so we would get good straightaway speed. But you have to balance that with your corner speed and the turbulence. And I wasn't out on the track very long when I come in, and I said, hey, I can't get near the car in front of me because my wings are not working.
Right.
Because there was too much angle out of them. So you put, and back then we have like maybe 3 degrees in them. And now they have negative 2 degrees in the rear wings, what they had.
Yeah.
But you could tell a difference. Aerodynamics was huge. That was a big leap in technology. So that's another tool, you might say, to work with in balancing the car. And when you want to get in the competition during the event.
Speaking of air, I mean, I know a lot of times you get some strong wind around the track. What was the hardest thing for you to maneuver? Wind on the straightaways, wind on the short chutes. What was the hardest thing to deal with when you were driving?
It was just a natural wind. For example, time I lost control, 72, my rookie year at Ontario Motor Speedway. In the evening, in the afternoon rather, they'd get these winds coming up from the basin up through San Bernardino and out toward Palm Springs. That's where Ontario Speedway was. And so I'll never forget Ontario because I could always hear, they had those flagpoles around the start-finish line in the infield where they had the winner circle. And they had a bunch, about 6 or 8 of these long aluminum flagpoles. And then have these ropes on them with the clips on them. And when that wind picked up, you knew it was late mid-afternoon because the wind would start clanging these little key clamps against the poles. Yeah. And that wind caught me coming off turn 4 one day. I was practicing in the afternoon, and it caught me, and man, it took me spinning just like this, down off turn 4 toward the infield. And the pit walls right there? I came right down and knocked the nose off of that. So I was that far from killing myself then.
Yeah, that would have been a bad crash.
And Gordon Johncock came up to me a day later after the next accident. So I'm a rookie. I'm ready to learn. I want to keep up with these guys. So Bill Finley put that nose back together. That's okay, kid. Just hang in there. Just use your head, And so he took he put some push in the car, maybe a little too much because I went in the first turn the next day after we rebuilt the nose and pushed the front end, and I'm going to hit the wall. So I get on the brakes to keep from going head on, and it spun around, knocked the nose off again.
Oh, no.
And so this is the next day. And so I'm trying to make my first race being on a super speedway. And Gordon Johncock comes up to me, and he looks at me, and he says, doesn't that scare you? And I looked at him, and I thought, no. Because I was in denial. I didn't want to think about the carnage that over the years that I had seen, because it could happen to me, but not today.
Wow. Well, Johnny, I hope you'll come back again. We're out of time, and I covered about a third of the stuff I wanted to cover with you. So thank you so much for taking time. And thanks for. I was so honored to be at that party back in May to honor your dad's 70th anniversary of the win. Just being around you guys was inspiring to me. So thank you so much for including me in that. And please, we want to have you back because there's a lot more for you to share. And we didn't really scratch the surface today.
Hey,
so thank you.
Appreciate your service.
And
you're serving the Lord as well.
Thank you to Mike Lashman as well. Mike Lashman at Vintage Indy. We appreciate you guys so much.
He says thank you.
All right. Thanks. See you. Thank you.
See you later.
All right. We're going to take a break. We got a quick promo for Speed Sport. I think a little Trans Am racing. I want to get me some Trans Am racing, Alex. I'm liking it. Let's see what we got.
The Trans Am Series presented by Pirelli is on Speed Sport 1. The 2025 season continues this weekend from Road America. On Saturday, we'll have live coverage of the TA and GT class starting at 1 p.m. Eastern with an encore replay at 7 p.m. On Sunday, the Cube 3 Architecture TA2 Series will go live at 1:30 p.m. Eastern with a same-day replay at 7 p.m. America's Road Racing Series is on Speed Sport 1. Go to speedsport1.com for details and viewing options.
Hey, welcome back. Boy, what a time with, Johnny Parsons. There's living history. 12 Indy 500s and all that he's done besides that. Just incredible. I feel so honored that we have had him on today, and we'll have to get him back because he's got so much history to talk about. We barely scratched the surface, which was not what my intention was. All right, let's see. We've got another guest coming in. I've been paying attention to LinkedIn. I got to tell you something, guys. Particularly the younger drivers, smaller. You got to be engaged with LinkedIn. You'll get some incredibly good connections. Listen. Have all the Instagram followers you want, but they're not paying for your sponsorship. I'll tell you right now. What's gonna get you in the right place for sponsorship and sponsorship acknowledgement is going to be LinkedIn, platforms like that, business platforms. That's where your sponsors are. And I've been watching our next guest on LinkedIn for a bit, and she's got some incredible insight to sponsorship and more than what the normal average person might think. And so I reached out to her and asked her to join us, and so we've got Teresa Bennick is with us today, and I'm so excited to have her on. First time on the show. Teresa, welcome to the program.
Thank you. So happy to be here. Thanks
you?
for inviting me. I'm good. How are you?
Oh, okay. How about having a little volume problem here? Can you hear us, Teresa?
I can.
Because I'm not hearing you. What do you say? Okay. What do you think, Alex? Okay. All right, we'll come back to you in a minute, Teresa. Just we got to work on the volume a little bit. One of the things that I've liked reading Teresa's stuff so much is understanding the value of what sponsorship really brings. The days of putting a logo on a car have been dead for 20 years. They want it because it's like French fries with a number 2 at McDonald's. Of course, they want the logo on the car, but that's not the value. The value is not carried there by a long shot. And so today we're looking more at business-to-business opportunities. But something that I learned a few years ago is the how are we doing, Alex? Yeah, okay, let's try it. Okay, we'll try it again. Hi, Teresa.
Hi, can you hear me this time?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, we can't hear you. You can hear me now? Okay,
yeah.
So we're having a hard time hearing you. Like we're not hearing you at all. What do you think, Alex? We're working on it. The marvel of technology.
It is
so
unmuted here.
That we can do this, but sometimes it doesn't quite work. We get a little hiccup. Hang on, Teresa. We're gonna get this going in just a second. One of the things that I learned a few years ago, several years ago, is that of all the things that racing offers in terms of sponsorship benefit, All right, what do you think? We see you.
Can you hear me now?
We're gonna try something else here, Teresa. Hang on just a second.
Okay.
Can they hear her? Okay, so our audience can hear you, Teresa. We just can't hear you. So we're gonna reset the board. Hold on just a second. Okay. I hear birds. I hear birds.
Okay, that's
singing
good.
in the park. Yeah, okay, good. Okay. All right, let's try it one more time. Teresa Bennick is I would say, a really knowledgeable sponsorship marketing person, and been following you on LinkedIn for quite a while. Thank you. Thanks for coming on. Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'm happy to be here.
Good. Okay, great. So one of the things that I really appreciate about what you offer on LinkedIn is you've got a very keen perspective on what really the value of sponsorship is. And I think when I look at your stuff, when I read what you put out, I think a huge factor in sponsorship is the experiential component. And you understand that as well as anybody. Talk to us about why is it important to have your sponsors, your potential sponsors at the track? Why is it important to have them there? And what's different between racing and baseball?
I think the sights and sounds of racing are unparalleled. When you are at the track, you have the sound and the feel of the motor. You have the smell of the rubber and the racing fuel. You can see the intensity and the teamwork of the pit crew. And then that leads to the emotional aspect of the marketing. And once you have the emotional aspect of it and fans are invested in you, in your company, the sales can come after that.
And why do you suppose the experiential side is so much more greater in motorsports than sitting in a box at a hockey game or a basketball game? Not that I'm knocking that, because I love hockey, but why racing is so much in terms of being superior in terms of your experience than a stick and ball kind of environment?
Yeah, if you've never, when I've been at a baseball game, I've been lucky enough to be about 3 rows back from the catcher, but that's still a big distance. If you can get yourself to a pit box, and I was, again, lucky enough, I've had some amazing experiences to be in the last pit stall on pit road at Daytona. That is insane. There's no feeling like it. And there really is. There's the experience, the being part of the team, part of the crew is second to none. You don't get that with baseball, football, hockey. It's still their experience. Whereas with racing, you're right there.
Yeah. I mean, at a baseball game, you're lucky if you stick around long enough at batting practice. Maybe you'll get an autograph or something, or a little wave. But being there, the emotional drive that is present when you're near, as you're saying, you're right there, you're watching it, you're witnessing it. You feel the same tension and the same drama that the crew feels as the cars are coming into the pit box. I mean, it's an amazing experience. I think is second to none.
Sit and listen to the crew chief make those calls in the decision. Part of
So when you're approaching a sponsor on the early stages, how soon or how hard, I guess, when do you hit that experiential side, right? Because I mean, they want to know, what am I getting out of my money? What's this do for me? And at what point in the pitch do you suppose is the best time to bring in the experiential factor of the race, and how that will help the fans bond to the brand, if you would?
I think immediately. However, the first thing that we're so quick to do, because we love our sport, we love everything about it, is talk about the sport, to talk opportunities that are there. But the first thing we really need to do is what that sponsor needs. Once you listen to their needs, you can go on to the experiential part. Do they need, do they want, do they need, they need the hospitality. If you're pitching hospitality and they have no need for it, you've lost it. So where it should be very foremost in your conversation, it should not be first.
Yeah. I mean, I'm noticing more and more the need of a business to business component where, you know, you're not just going to hope for sales. You're going to get direct, already set up, like ready baked business from another company. But that's not 100% of the time. And a lot of times I think the sponsors don't even, if they've never been to a motorsports event, which a lot of people haven't, they don't even know. They don't know the difference. They think it's the same as going to a baseball game, or they think it's the same as going, or they think it's the same as putting their name on a wall somewhere, right? In terms of exposure. So I think the experiential thing is so. That's why I say bring clients to races. I mean, this was so clear to us back in 2020 with a sponsor that. Now there was no fans there. It was kind of crazy for the 500 that year. But, I mean, he just fell in love with the whole environment. I mean, it was, I could tell he was like a little kid in a candy store. You don't get that in any other sport except motorsports.
No, and I will say, to see your name on the car, it's a huge sense of pride.
Yeah. You generally don't see your name on a Red Sox uniform. Right. Unless you happen to have the same last name as a player. So...
Yeah. Or you can have you mentioned hockey, the Red Wings trash patch.
Hey,
but yeah,
you've got,
there's nothing like it.
This is what you're doing. We're having some real lag time here, Teresa. So I don't mean to speak over you, but I can't hear on the other side as much what you're saying or when you're saying it, but. Tell us about your company. I mean, you're actively in the business with helping with marketing and sponsorship. How can people get a hold of you, and what can they? How do they get a hold of your resources? I mean, obviously they can go on LinkedIn because that's where I found you. But how about website information? What's the best place and best way for folks to connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I do have my website. It's kind of long, but you can connect to it on LinkedIn as well. And it is tlcmotorsportsmarketing.net.
tlcmotorsportsmarketing.net. That's not hard. That's easy to find.
Correct.
Okay.
No,
And
it's long.
and what? Well, it is. I mean, I'm trying to be nice. What's available? When I go to the website, what's available? What can I find on your website?
On my website is generalities. Oh, that was a tough one. I haven't updated to specifics. So, but I think what is unique with what I am trying to do is that I have drivers at every level, from local to now connect with. So I can offer a sponsorship at any level, whether you want to do a $5,000 one or a $5 million one. come to me with your ideas, and I'd love to hash them out and see how they work on the track and at the races.
Mm-hmm. What is NASCAR your strong suit? Is that the world you're in most of the time? What other kind of series are you involved in if drivers are wanting or teams are wanting to get a hold of you?
So only asphalt right now. I've purposely decided to only work with one driver at each level to avoid any conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I have local to West Michigan. I have local to Midwest with CRA. I have ARCA opportunities, truck, Xfinity, and recently Cup that I've connected with.
Wow.
So
Good.
Throughout
Good.
the stepping stones.
Up in our neck of the woods on Saturday at Lime Rock, we're going to have a truck race and an ARCA race, so it's pretty exciting. We haven't had trucks run up here in a long time, so pretty cool.
Yeah, it'll be a good race.
Okay, and so again, TLC marketing. Say it one more time for us, Teresa. TLC
Motorsports marketing. Motor
.net. I got the beginning and the end. Okay.
.net.
All right, very good.
Net.
All right, listen, we're going to reconnect with you. I'd love to have you back on again. We just need a little bit more stable internet environment, and it'll work a lot better. But thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Keep doing what you do on LinkedIn. I look forward to every post you put out there. And, again, easy to find on LinkedIn. Teresa Benedict at LinkedIn. And really, do yourself a favor and check her stuff out. She's got really good stuff. You're going to really appreciate what she shares. Hey, thank you so much, and thank you for the background with the bird noise. That was really nice. I don't know if those were actually birds or you were piping that in, but it was good no matter what it was. But thank you. Thanks. Good to see you, and thanks for coming on. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Will. Have a wonderful day.
Okay. The wonder of technology. Yes. Well, she really does have some great stuff, and I've been as I said, I've been watching her on LinkedIn for quite a while. Does some really nice graphic stuff with her decks, and she shares some of that. So it really, again, if you're in the stock car world, truck world, ARCA, Xfinity, I think she could really give you a hand. So look her up. Hey, Alex, thank you. Good job today. A little rough start on the technical side, but that's okay. We're going to work all these things out. It's amazing that we can do this. She's in Michigan, talking to her. JP's in Indianapolis, talking to him. So it's pretty cool that we can do this, but we're going to have to help everybody have a little bit more stability on their internet set. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please comment, like, share on your platforms. It really matters a lot, guys, if you will do that. I tell you that the algorithms are hungry for comments, likes, and shares. And then on YouTube, please subscribe. And if you're on our old YouTube channel, The Pits Are Open, please go to the new YouTube channel, Pits Are Open Podcast, and subscribe there. And then also Spotify. We're on Spotify as well, Pits Are Open. So, hey, thank you very much. Thanks, JP. Thanks, Mike Lashman. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Alex. And Lord willing, we'll be back next week with another super lineup of guests for you.